What's going on, guys? It is good to be back. It's been about 2 months since we made a video, so it always feels really good to be able to have something exciting to talk about. And today we definitely have something exciting to talk about for the truck. I'm about to do something with it that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. It is a rather large change, so I'm a little trepidatious, but it ought to be really great. So before we get to talking about that though, let's talk about sled pulling. Okay, so what happened there, right? So we've been messing around with the tuning quite a bit on this truck in the last couple of months, just kind of trying to tweak it in, get things going a little bit better. I felt like the truck was underpowered. We were not fueling correctly beforehand, and so we kind of went a totally different direction. And this was the first pass at that, and so obviously we are way over fueling the truck in that video, right? I mean, just absolute mosquito fogging, just a terrible thing, right? Which is okay. Basically, this is the first run, so we were able to get it tuned in later on, but that's what happened here, right? So basically the truck was just completely over fueling. The truck was actually on a great pass. I mean, 25 mile an hour, the truck was just singing, putting a ton of power down. And then it threw a couple of basically overfueling codes, overpressure codes, and shut itself down there, right? So the truck, nothing mechanically failed. I did not let off the throttle, anything like that. The truck basically said, hey, I'm getting way too much fuel, this is unsustainable, and shut itself down. So that's what happened there. I think it was still like 270 feet or something like that, I kind of forget. So it was on its way to a great pass, but shut itself down, no big deal. Loaded up, everything was fine, went on to another run. So obviously this pass went a whole lot better. It was a little bit rough at the beginning, right? So this is the track that I broke at last year, right? That we ripped the drive shaft out of the truck at because it's such a sticky track. So you can see that I actually put the proxies back on just because I knew that grip was not going to be an issue with this track, right? It never is. It's a sticky clay. If you dig in and you're not overpowering the truck so you can slip, if it grips really hard, you're going to have driveline issues at this track. So I went ahead and I just put on my proxies. I knew they were going to do fine, and they did, right? So there's a little bit of hop coming out of the gate there. You can kind of see that in the second video, but it smoothed out and we were able to run. So the truck did really well. So the tuning's been tweaked a little bit since then. And it looked really quite a bit better. Still a little bit of overfuel there, but we're getting it dialed in a little bit better, and we will continue to do so here in the future. So overall, it went really well. It's always good when you can kind of hang in there with some of the fully built dualies and some of the 2.6 trucks, right? That always is a great feeling. Not going to beat them, not going to beat some of the high-end ones, of course not, but when you can hang in with the mid-pack with those guys, it always feels good when you're just a little 64 millimeter charger in this truck right now. And speaking about that 64 millimeter charger, right, it has a very limited life left in this truck, and that's what we're talking about today. So I'm going to do one more sled hook. I think it's August 27th at Laura, Illinois, so it's a couple weekends from now. That is going to be the last work stock or stock truck pull that I will do with this truck for the foreseeable future, right? Because we're going to go ahead and pull that 64 millimeter turbo out of this truck, and instead we're going to put an S400 kit on. So I have made the decision to go to an S400 setup, right? We're going to go to a big single on this truck. Basically just for a couple reasons. First of all, sled pulling in central Illinois is getting harder and harder for the stock appearing charger guys, right? So the rules for the local classes for work stock have gotten quite a bit wider, and that's totally fine. But it's basically, it favors the guys who do really big dually builds with S366s or S372s, which is great. Those guys rock. I mean, those are sweet built pulling trucks, right? And that's awesome, and they deserve to win. However, basically what it's done is it's made it really hard for the guys who don't want to have a stock turbo, but they really don't want to go to the fully built dually style pulling truck yet, right? So for the guys who have like a 64 millimeter charger or a 66 millimeter drop-in charger, it's really hard to find a competitive place, right? You're too big for the stock class, unless you're going to cheat, which we shouldn't do, obviously. So you're too big to go into the true the true stock class. But work stock has now gotten to a level that's so high powered and so highly competitive that for guys like me with a 64 millimeter charger setup like this on a single rear wheel machine, it's really hard to be competitive. It's still fun. I still love going out and being with those guys. But it's really hard to be competitive. And so I was like, you know what, as much fun as it is, still to some degree, I really want to go do something different. And so I said, you know what, why don't we take a big step here and let's go to an S400 setup on this truck. Okay, so here we go, right? So this entire kit came from Worley Custom Fab except for the turbo itself. So talking about the turbo, obviously I am missing the compressor cover because the compressor cover is actually up at Worley's right now getting powder coated in Illusion Cherry for me. But what we have here is a Forced Inductions S467 with an 83 millimeter turbine with a 0.9 AR exhaust housing, right? So basically I did just kind of the second step up, didn't go with a 64, went ahead and jumped to a 67 millimeter with the tightest AR and the smallest turbine wheel that I could, right? So basically just trying to keep a little bit of drivability in the truck. We do have enough fuel to spool this thing just fine. I think the question will become is whether or not the torque converter that I have in the truck is the correct pairing for this. Is probably going to need to get swapped out for something with a little bit higher stall, but we will see. But that's what we've got here, right? So it's an S467 from Forced Inductions is what we're going to go with. Waiting for that compressor cover to come back in Illusion Cherry for me. But the rest of the kit here comes from Worley Custom Fab. So the big thing is, what are we doing with color, right? So we're going to go ahead and make a change. So right now, everything underneath the hood of this truck is Illusion Cherry, right? The entire thing. There's no complementary colors or two-tone action or anything like that. Everything is Illusion Cherry, and we're going to change that up. So like I already said, the compressor cover is going to stay Illusion Cherry. But the main piping kit, I went ahead and did in their King Sport Gray, right? It's WCFab Gray, and it's just got just a beautiful little bit of sparkle in there, and it's gonna pair really, really nicely. So what we're gonna do is we are going to have the turbo and all of the accessories are going to be in Illusion Cherry. So like the alternator, the brake reservoir mount, the coolant reservoir, everything like that, all of that is going to be in Illusion Cherry. But then the main piping kit, along with the turbo, but the main piping kit is going to be in this King Sport Gray, right? So we're gonna have this beautiful gray and cherry combination going on under the hood, and I am, oh my gosh, I am so excited for this. I think it's gonna look beautiful. I'm just super excited to see what the truck can do. This kit looks amazing. I have opened up and looked at some of the pieces and rewrapped them all back up until we're actually ready to put it on, and that'll be a few weeks from now yet. But everything just looks amazing. If you look down at the pedestal, you just see the handiwork that they've done here. It's a bunch of beautiful wells. The whole thing looks great. It's a big fab pedestal versus the cast one. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, honestly. But either way, it looks like it'll do just fine. So I'm super, super excited to get this kit in, and we'll see how it does. So that's where we're going to leave this video, guys. So like I say, we have one more sled pull to go to here in a couple weeks on the 27th in Laura, Illinois. That will be the last sled pull for this truck with a 64 millimeter charger on. I'm not sure if I'm going to sled pull with the big turbo kit on there. I really have no idea what my plans are yet. Obviously, drag strip is always an option, and we will definitely be planning on doing that at some point. But big thing is just get it on, get it tuned in, see how the torque converter reacts to it, all of that kind of stuff. And that is all to come, and we will log that as we do it. Guys, what are your thoughts, right? I am curious to see what anybody thinks about this S467 kit. Is it a bad idea? Is it a great idea? Am I going to regret it? We will find out together, right? But I'm curious of your opinions. I'm also curious of your opinions on the color combination, right? This WCFab red and WCFab gray, Kingsport gray and Illusion Cherry together. Do you think that will be a good looking pairing, or should I have gone with something different? Once again, we're going to find out here real soon, but I'm curious of your opinions. So please leave a comment down below and like the video if you haven't already, and thanks for watching.